Where's the bass?
What you
pump it up, pump it up. I know.
Ooh,
so
that was a quick intro.
Last night, I went to see him. He is like
Bruno.
dope.
Yo,
Yeah.
Bruno is an
He's the man.
entertainer.
He gets it in.
Oh my God, he is.
Yeah.
dope. Welcome to OnPoint Experience, everybody.
Yes,
Sorry for
Yes.
that.
Good morning.
Gotta always have structure. Start the show off first and then talk. Cause I'm just so eager to say hi to everybody.
Yeah.
It's
That's
been
what it's about,
it's
man.
been so long since I seen you. Oh my
I'm
God.
serious. Morning, people.
So good morning, everybody.
What's up?
You're
What's
listening-
going on?
I'm amped.
I see you a little bit more hyper today.
Yes, yes.
Okay, great.
Dallas Cowboy spirit.
Oh, wow.
You all got to come together, you know, in times of challenges and controversy.
Yes.
You see the character of the man.
Like the Cowboys, you start off slow this morning.
Well, let's do roll call. Who's in here?
Apparently you are. Well, I'm Yaz Hurston. How are you?
This is your boy Will Jameer Townsend in the building. Good morning.
What's going on, JB? Broomberg in the building. Who are you? You know who you are?
Feeling a little loopy. Ray Ray.
If you're going to push it, you got to be a little smoother.
I know it's true.
That's funny.
Listen to OnPoint Experience, everybody.
It's the
If
Benadryl
you want
effect.
to contact us, feel free to call us at 929-227-4646. And as always, you can check us out on our Facebook live page, OnPoint Experience, as well as our website, www.onpointradioshow.com. We have a great show for you today, a lot of things happening. And I was about to say that, last night I saw Bruno Mars.
Yeah.
He gave a great show, everybody. He's just, that boy can sing.
And he can dance.
Yeah, he's a true.
He could
entertainer.
dance, but his dance movements, him and his band, they all could dance and play, right? But his movements, they're not like, he's not sweating out. He's not
Right.
like, having cardiac arrest after his
It's like
show.
effortless,
it's
right?
like chilling. He's like chilling the way he dances. And like the way he moves, it's just like smooth.
Yeah.
He reminds me of like Mars Day,
Yeah.
And if anybody remembers that team,
Yeah, of
I don't know,
course,
that
of
group.
course.
The Time.
yeah, time.
But
Who was he performing with? Was anybody else on the card?
actually, Ella May performed with
Okay.
her. She's the young lady that's European that sings Boot Up.
Okay.
Love that song.
It seems that it really works well with a lot of the young people, Boot Up, and she had another song called Trip that she's just starting. I think this was also the show that I think Cardi B was gonna supposed to join in, but
okay.
it's
Things happen.
no comment. But
You know what I mean?
Still recovering.
yeah. But good. Shout out being a new mom.
Yes.
To Cardi B.
She just did the Global Citizens thing about maybe a week ago. So
Yeah.
she's
Yeah, but
she's
she
out
kind
there,
of got
man.
into some other stuff.
Oh,
so.
did she?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't want to talk gossip
Yeah,
about
yeah,
people,
yeah.
but
It is what it is, right?
But it was a great
Thugging
show, and
Good.
it's so funny as I was, sometimes you're in the place and you see other people that you least expect to see. So it's so funny. I was coming out of one area of the place, and I bumped into somebody who I don't think we thought we was going to see each other, and we both said, "Oh, hi, Mo."
Oh.
Maurice Hare. Big shout out to Maurice Hare, because we both said, "Oh, hey, hey."
You at this concert too,
We're
huh?
this concert too.
Yeah.
Big shout out to that. But again, I want to also say thank you to all of the OnPoint listeners that gave time to wish me a happy birthday.
Yeah.
I
that
saw
was
you,
cool.
Jesse. Thank you so much, Jesse Carr.
Jesse's a
for doing
soldier.
that
Isn't he?
big
Consistent.
time.
Yes.
And, consistency is important. And he is always there to like my stuff. I want to say that. So thanks, Jesse. And everybody else has said happy birthday.
So I got to say, people, there's a lot of things other than this wonderful woman's birthday going on this week.
What's that?
I
What
mean,
was
there's
that?
a lot of things. I mean,
Well, I
this
have
is the
something. You have
segment that we're going to go into what had happened,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And what had happened, I have to choose somebody.
Okay.
I like choosing people.
Okay.
Oh.
All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start it off. Right. I want to tell you guys. This is.
You're gonna choose yourself.
I'm gonna choose myself because
Okay.
this is a topic that's very close to me. My grandmother, who was a foster mother for 26 years. Yeah, she got the Mother
Awesome.
Award for several years,
Nice.
and so I've seen a lot of kids come through our household, and I watched her do her thing as nurturing and kind of give them direction and guidance. So I want to give a big shout out to three, and two of those people are Rob Garris and Kaveen Gilmore. These two people have been on the front line fighting for supportive housing, reuniting families, and exposing the abuse and neglect of children who age out the foster care system at the age of 18.
Wow.
I thought it was 25.
No,
You age out of
18.
foster care.
18.
18.
Where in
Uh,
Jersey?
No,
Everywhere.
New York.
No, it's
well, yeah,
not.
that's
New York is 24.
24.
Age out.
Okay, well these
Oh.
two people have been champions. They've been on the front line, making sure that these kids that's over 18 find homes.
Right.
Not just finding homes, because we know as a foster system,
No.
they just kind of throw you anywhere,
Right.
you know,
That's
just to
right.
kind of put you where you need to go. So I want to give a big shout out to these people. They're actually getting the humanitarian award for the
Wow.
legacy of Nelson Mandela in Brooklyn
Oh,
today.
that's fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah, I think I even have the address there. It's gonna be at the let me see where it's at. Where was that? It's in Brooklyn. Yeah, Saturday, October 13th, 2018, at the
Today's
Brooklyn Museum.
Today's the 6th.
Right. Okay. Sorry. 2013. October 13th, 2018, at the Brooklyn Museum from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m.
And we'll post that too.
I think that's a wonderful thing. Amazing thing to me.
Mm-hmm.
And the third person I want to give a big shout out to is my boy Cortland Hankins, who was actually our brother from the show. Yes, and I say that because it was his newspaper called Our Time Press that I got that information from. So I want to kind of give him a big shout out. I let you know,
nice of
Court.
you.
I definitely read your material. Very powerful stuff. He has a lot of great information in there. So you get an opportunity, people, definitely read Our Time Press.
It's quality reading for
Yes,
sure.
definitely.
Good stuff. Congratulations, Court.
So my what had happened for this week, as you know, this segment is based upon talking about news that we might have missed and we didn't focus on, but just acknowledging domestic violence awareness. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and this is a time that, you know, where we should be speaking and not being quiet. By taking a stand, we to remind the nation that there are still countless people, victims and survivors, their children and families and friends and communities that have been impacted by domestic violence. And it should not be a society where there's it's okay to mock victims, especially if you're in power. It's not okay to ignore police, no matter how long they decided to come out.
Right.
It's a zero tolerance for domestic violence, because so many of us, because we have not talked about it, we've had to suffer. I believe we've had a few guests from last week to years that have been victims of domestic violence, and to understand the pain and to understand the struggle, but also to understand the rising, the phoenix rising of someone has gone through it, to be able to talk about it and share it is so important. So as we look at things that are happening, just remind everyone that this month is Domestic Violence Awareness, and if you know someone, just give them a call and share your and thank them for coming out and sharing their issue. The other thing I wanted to say is that something happened to me this week. And I think it's important, and I don't want to stress about my personal experience, but I think that sometimes if you know that something is going on with somebody, or someone is doing something that is not in the ordinary, give them a call, find out if they're okay. Give them a call and find out if they're okay. I had a situation where I was in a situation where I was not doing my regular schedule. I was not doing my regular life.
Right.
And I found that no one called to ask was I okay till like 2 days later. And it's not anything negative or bad, but
Right.
I decided, let me call there was someone who did this, who was having the same thing. I was supposed to meet someone on Sunday and they didn't show up. And so then I called and they were like in the hospital and it was really bad. And they could not call me to say,
Right.
you
I'm
know,
late.
right. But, you know, something said, let me just call and say how you doing. Because sometimes, I know we get caught up and we think a text is fine.
Right.
But, you know, there's so many things happening in the world today, so many mishaps, so many stupid people doing shootings and stuff like that. You just never know what's happening in someone's life. And so I just also want to make it a point to just try to be more communicative with people in your life, because if something happens and they're not following their regular routine, you should check in. I know I made a post that I was jumped by some mosquitoes or bees.
Yeah, I didn't care for that.
Oh my
one.
God.
A couple of
I
months
didn't-
ago,
What?
and everybody, and so I felt like I was the boy that cried wolf. So when something was wrong, no one called me this time. But
Did you read that?
seriously,
Yes, I did.
but seriously,
My
I
blood
just,
pressure went up.
and thank you for that, because people was ready to have a fight with me out of their character. But my point is that I probably won't do that again. But my point is that when you are cool with people and they're not following their regular routine, just check in. That's
Right.
all. Just check
Yeah.
in.
I got to tell you, when I read that, I didn't even read the whole thing.
I
I read half of what you wrote. I was like, yo, sis, you all right? Yo, you cool? You
Yeah, that was
cool?
the show that people don't read the whole
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I read the whole thing and
Yeah, and you still called.
and then
Because someone said bees. I was saying for the listening audience, I was saying that I was tired of bees, and I was using bees as an analogy, I guess, for the insect bee as an analogy for, you know, like I was really under stress, and that was a few weeks ago. That has nothing to do with what I'm saying right now. But you know, people that are just gangster call me and say, "Well, you talking about the female dog bee, or you talking about the
wow.
insect bee?" I was like, "No, I'm just talking about real bees." Well, I thought you meant bitches. I was like, "No, that's not what I meant. I said bees." So, but that being said, again, just
but yeah. Well, I
follow
have-
through.
yeah,
Be your brother's keeper.
I have
Yeah.
a lot of people to call right after this for sure.
I'm telling you, because
That's
you
what's up.
think everything is good,
No,
and
it's
you just
true.
don't. You just take it for granted.
Yeah, because last week I had an incident. I got attacked by a woman, random act of violence. She punched me in the stomach, and then I went to hit her. I mean, I would
A
have.
random act.
Is
It
this
was.
Joe-
Joe, I need to call Ray.
No,
Find out what
It
he's doing?
No,
Oh.
but what did happen though is that
Her man is Ray. He's probably.
Oh,
Yes.
the pastors that live in my building, they came out of a cab and they stopped it, like, and it was just a random act. She thought that I was somebody else, and it would have been a different story about, you know, I would have been in the hospital. None of you guys would have known that had happened to me. So it's true that always check in.
You know,
Let's do that.
before we wrap it up, I just want to comment. Yeah, as you said something about when people come out and say things that
Yeah.
have happened in the past, and as we sat back, obviously watched what happened in the news. I just think it's real asinine and to ostracize people that have had a secret and take years to say nothing to anybody. When you really think about it, I guarantee you, each of every one of us and everyone we know, there's something that's probably has happened to us in the past that you just never said anything to anybody
suppress
about
it.
Right.
for some reason or another, good, bad, or whatever. You know, I don't care if you're walking down the street and fall down the stairs. You might not want to share that with somebody, right? Until it comes out years later. So you got to be, you know, very mindful of people have to come out with things in their own point in time. And just because it's years later doesn't mean that it's not impactful or didn't happen, right? So, food for
Well,
thought.
thank you for that. So that was a great way it happened. I think we're ready.
We'll be right
Yeah.
back
Right back.
with conversation piece.
Uh-oh. Can't wait. Let's do it.
Why your face look like that, Jay?
Now, baby, let's get into it. Let's have some conversations. Thank you, Dave.
Our lives begin to end. The day we become silent about the things that matter. Martin Luther King Jr. Conversations going left field out of patience. Complications are turning into frustration. Don't need your opinion if you can't see we're the victims. No indictments, mentally losing your stripes, and united we stand. Divided we fall. One person can do it. finish your issue. Blessings won't diminish you. Feel bad for your soul, but I ain't coming with you. Keep on sinning, we gon' keep on winning. Not content with the pain that we always have been in. Stripped of our climbing, that caters your proud. Judgment day, you must look in his eyes. Took an oath, didn't ya? But you still put a trigger, huh? Took an oath, didn't ya? But you still put a trigger, huh? Took an oath, didn't ya? But you still put a trigger, huh? Took an oath, didn't ya? But you still put a trigger, huh? Yeah, I said it, we don't get no credit. Get no credit, no. Good news don't travel, we don't get no credit. Get no credit, no. Usually the best of the best, but we still won't get it. Still won't get it, no. Yeah, I said it, we don't get no credit, but no. United we stand, divided we fall. One person can do it. It's gotta be us all.
Hey ladies, I'm trying to get right. Real dolled up, real fancy. I'ma look like a pinup tonight. Start the night out right, pre-gaming with my ladies if I might. Let me puff on that hookah, let me sip some wine like I'm out of day, pin up on my dress so tight. Tonight I'ma drink my sorrows, tonight I'ma smoke away all my stress. Yeah. Me and my girls bout to act a hotness, pop 15 bottles and excuse the hotness. Straight looking cute, all them looking at they could get the boo. Noche de mujeres, see I get a clue. Now duck face girls, it's a photo shoot. It's time to wind my body, it's time to work up a sweat. Go on DJ, slow the tempo, cause this party ain't over yet. Yes, we're feeling right, yes, we're feeling right. Ladies night, get them hands up high, keep them hands up high. Ladies night, popping bottles right, fitted dresses tight. Ladies night, yes, we're feeling right, yes, we're feeling right. Ladies night. Now I would say, yeah, man, it's just past 2, and I think I'm seeing double, think I lost the shoe. Ended up on the ground, stumbled on my ex for the wall. I was sipping, it was him I was next to. Hit up my girls like, what? It's a dub in this club, about to get some grub. Hop in a cab, yeah, we out to the heights. Finish up the champagne, go grab some bites. Segment Express or some patacón. I could go for medio pollo en el malecón. I don't know about y'all, but I'm in the zone. Feeling like some wine or coffee Patron. Out to the athletes, the night is young. Have my entourages already done. Ain't no stressing out the niggas, they no feeling glum. All you having boy problems? Bathroom, son. Yes, we're feeling right, yes, we're feeling right.
So, we're back.
Yes.
And I'm so looking forward to this topic, conversation piece. Every show we have segments that are hosted by our family here.
Yeah.
Various ones. And I want to say, Will, that out of all of them, because we have several tech tips, financially fit, single mom chronicles, Curtis's best 3. I want to say out of all of them, I always look forward to what you're bringing us on conversation piece. It's always something that brings it home. Never female bashing.
No.
Never that.
Don't want to do that.
Never
Yeah.
that.
Of course not.
But definitely female challenging.
Well, you know what? I don't think.
So that being said,
yeah, let me get into it. Let's get into it.
There you go, Dave.
Like that.
Got some controversy.
we bring you, and we can save controversy for the what is his name? Springer?
Jerry
Springer show.
His name's Springer.
Just difference in thought and opinion.
That's all it is.
That's all it is.
There you go.
And there you have it, ladies and
controversy.
gentlemen.
Conversation piece. Here you go.
She knows exactly what she's doing. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is your segment, my segment, conversation piece. And in this piece, all I want, not even try to enlighten you. I just love your insight and your conversation into relationships and how we can make these things better. All right. So today I thought about this and I wanted to talk about some things that seems to be very uncomfortable speaking about with couples or when you're in your group setting with people. So I decided to put just only 3 things together that we can discuss. And I would love to have you guys kind of jump in on this and discuss it
Or
with me.
jump
And-
you on this?
And I got to tell you on Facebook, man, and like inbox, yo, they kill me about the show or when I put certain things that's challenging on my Facebook page. And I get it. I understand. But listen.
No, you take the time and you really get good feedback on it.
Yeah, and I got to say, this is something we have to go through because we're not going to always be on the same page.
That's right.
Men and women, we think differently. We look at things differently. You know what I mean? So we view things totally different than women. So my thing is, long as there's some type of communication, things will be better, I think, in families, in a family structure, or just a relationship structure, right? So we're gonna go with the first one. The first one seems to be pretty easy. I'm gonna give you easy one. This is not to anyone in particular, but just to the group. Is being faithful hard? And if it is, why is it?
Okay,
Everybody don't have to jump at once.
I think it is. I think it's not. It goes against nature. I think that we were put. I'm just speaking from a spiritual perspective. I think being with one person is more man-made than it is than natural. Like when you look at animals, if you compare the animals, every season, like that peacock is going to look for the next peacock with the shiniest tail. And also, I think that being faithful is more of a focus that you have to have within yourself. But naturally, I just think that we were born on this earth to copulate, to have sex, to multiply. So I don't know if it said that you got to stay with that one person for 50, 70 years to do that. So I would say that it is. I would think that if it was easy, I would be married right now.
Well, I just want to say, I'm not, see, when
Did you
people
want
say,
all of our opinions?
yeah, but I want to
Okay.
kind of clarify some things too, some rules of the game, okay?
Oh, now you do it after.
Oh,
No,
yes.
but
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
what you said, yes, I strongly believe in that. You know what I mean?
okay.
And when anytime this question is posed to me, they go, well, okay, have you, can you be faithful? I say to people like, yeah, I can, because is that my nature though?
Right.
Because we're talking two different things. And let's be clear, when you say being unfaithful or cheating, we're not just talking about the physical encounter.
At all.
You understand? When that
Right.
when that guy drops that message in your DM, you know what the deal is. When
Right.
he pokes you on Facebook, you know what the deal is. You know what I mean? Like, come on, let's be grown up talk here, right?
Correct.
So, Ray,
Well, I mean, I'm a faithful person, and for me, it's not hard, but it's just because it's my nature. So it depends on who you're dealing with. So like it's like if you're a faithful person, you
Right.
gotta kind of attract the faithful person to want to be faithful to you.
but are you attracted to other men?
Yeah, I mean, of course, but I don't.
Attraction
I
and
don't.
wanting to do it.
Attraction,
Right.
yeah.
Well,
like I
that's-
don't flirt.
I'm not saying that's
can watch-
that's
look at the
cheating. I'm
menu.
just saying, are you attracted to
Oh
other
yeah, of
men?
course. I mean, there's plenty of eye candy everywhere. I mean, I live in the Heights. I mean, there's guys all over the place that are just slamming.
All right, watch yourself. We're gonna move you right along.
Can I,
'Cause you-
just for clarity, are you
Yes.
referring specifically
To what?
faithful as a person
Or-
in a relationship,
I'm
or
talking-
just as a person being a faithful character, as your
Right.
character?
in your character. Well, you know what?
Oh, that's two
You know
different
what?
things.
That's
Well,
two
you know what?
different things.
I tell you what. There's two different things. Let's rock out with two different things.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Dos
because-
cosas.
No,
Yes.
because you don't.
Oh, because we got
Right.
time is limited. Okay, so okay, brother Jeff, what do you think? What is
so
your goal?
we want me to address the relationship part. I think
Yeah,
that's
you
where
could
we
do that.
started.
Yeah.
It's work, and I think that we get into relationships, and we see people on the outside. It takes a while to really learn people, right?
Right.
Because we all kind of, I won't say put up a facade, but we all put up our best, our best impression. And over a period of time, it might take a while to learn how people manage their money, how people feel about family, really, really about religion, things of that nature. So it's work. And when you find that difference,
Jeff, are you a faithful person?
I'm a faithful person.
Okay.
I
But-
believe you.
I believe it too.
Yeah.
What? Okay, all right.
He goes all that general.
but it's work though.
Right,
You know
right.
what
It
I'm
takes a
saying?
lot of work.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
right.
And I've had my indiscretions, as you grow and be a little
Right.
bit older, then
Right.
you got to realize what you want to commit to and not to, because if you feel you going to go down that path, then you don't want to make that commitment because it's just going to hurt that person in the end. But then that gets to knowing who you are as an individual as well.
Right. I agree with that. And to close out that question, I will say to everyone, get a piece of paper, fold it, put your pros and cons, and write and be honest with yourself and write down everything, your pros
Look in
and
the
cons.
mirror.
That would be your way of looking in the mirror.
It's a long list.
Yeah. Well, the second
True.
question is arguing a natural part of every relationship?
That's the question.
That's the question.
Well, disagreements, yes. Do we have to argue? It might get to that point.
What's
but
the
I
difference?
just think it's, well, I think that we can disagree. I think it's the tone of the conversation, right? Because me and you can disagree on something doesn't mean we're arguing, right?
Right.
And I think when you argue with somebody, it really goes off topic and then it kind of gets personal sometimes. Now, I'm not winning the argument, so I'm talking about your hair or your football team, how whack they are, stuff like that, you know.
Little more dig.
A little more dig, yeah.
Right.
So I think it can be natural when you touch the wrong topic, people get emotional, and then it goes from a disagreement to an argument. But I think that that's natural. How you deal with it after the argument is really what makes the difference.
I mean, it's natural. Like animals fight with each other. Just they have disagreements. I think that, especially living in New York City, where there's all these people arguing and beating people up is celebrated on TV, like Bad Girls Club. I mean, we can't help but become argumentative because everything around us we're being told that arguing is the way to get ahead. Arguing and fighting is the way to like relate to people. So it's actually harder to not be argumentative, even if you want to. Like people who go on retreats to try to tone down their anger or tone down their anxiety or build up their self-esteem. It takes them a long time to even get to a level where they're able to break the habit of always arguing about everything. I mean, we call arguing haggling. We're told to argue in all these creative ways, so it is natural, and we cannot escape it.
What do you think?
I agree with Jeff. I think that disagreements are better than I can't deal with arguments. It's stressful.
Yes.
I avoid a situation where I know I'm going to have to argue about something. I also think that you have to speak out of love. If you say things just to be hurtful and then like come back a half an hour later and not just say actions also do that too, because actions can create really uncomfortable situations, and then not responding to it, then that's just really messed up. And I think that should not be a part of the discussion. I've been in many sick relationships, unhealthy relationships, where the guy thinks that, you got to argue first and then come back. And that's domestic violence. And then comes back and then says, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Like those things didn't hurt, And so I don't think disagreements, I think arguments play a role.
One of the things you said that I love, you said, do it in love. I think sometimes when you take the focus off that aspect of the relationship, it becomes a little more aggressive. It becomes, I deal with a woman that's very sensitive, right? And myself, I'm very sensitive in certain things. So I approach into the argument can be very hurtful, and you may not know it's hurting me. You understand? So that sparks up a whole nother avenue of other things.
That's right.
So I think that what you said, Jeff, is ideal. How you handle that, I think, is the key. So I would tell everyone just to be very strategic into explaining yourselves thoroughly so your partner won't get you the wrong way.
But it's challenging when you disagree with somebody, and what if the other person doesn't get it?
Right.
We don't agree. I don't agree, and I'm trying to help you understand. You need to fix your credit, and you telling me I need to save some money, or we need to do this.
Right.
That's where it gets challenging when I'm trying to. There's a disagreement, and the other person's not getting it.
Right.
It's
I agree.
challenging.
So that's so many of my arguments.
Well, the third one.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Now this one is going to spark up. I see. I get you shaking the head, huh? This one is going to spark up definitely some conversation. This question, which will be the last question, is your significant other entitled to your social media password if you're in a committed relationship, or your bank account password? Why or why not? Let's go.
Personal?
Who you want to start with?
No, I'll just no. I think everybody
no.
agrees. No, I think you should do something joint. If there's something joint, everyone needs to have their own identity in a relationship. You don't just give yourself away because you meet somebody.
Right.
So if maybe you have a joint account and then you both share the password for stuff. So I have plenty of people, they have friends that have joint emails, and it's disgusting to watch because it's so cute and everything. But you have a joint account, and I've seen joint social. But people should have their own identity, and I don't even think I think that's a real deal breaker sometimes, because what happens. It's not when things are great it's okay. It's when things go bad.
Right.
I am a victim of someone who had my password and after the relationship was over, decided to still go and look at my messages, and started Hava. And I'm just recovering today.
I'm gonna end this with this right here. What you said, that's a good way of piggybacking on this. My personal opinion about that is, I disagree. I don't believe that you should have my password, because there's things in my email or my social media that's very private that, as my partner, I don't want you to know. See, we could say, I mean,
you disagree with what?
Well, what I'm saying, I'm sorry, I don't mean to say disagree.
I say
that because sometimes as a partner, they feel that they should have rights to everything about you, and I may not be comfortable sharing everything about you. I come to that to say this: a Michigan man that lived in Michigan is now being sued by his ex-wife after he read and emailed and learned that his wife had an affair on him. Also, she was going through some health problems that she did not want to expose to her husband. So now, because he decided to go in, when I say health problems, I don't mean like, some type of disease, anything of that nature. Well,
that's still a health problem.
Yeah, that's true too. But now she's suing him for actually going into her
invasion of privacy.
Exactly, and that's
like reading a diary.
Exactly. So now he's going through it, and
so what's your thoughts on that?
I just think that's exactly what I was talking about before I went into this whole article thing here, is that there's certain things that certain stories that I've spoken to women about, things that happened to them in their lives, and they didn't feel comfortable that their partner knew these things. Now, why they tell me, I don't know, but I guess sometimes telling a stranger,
I don't know either.
by talking to a stranger,
comes out on the show
easier.
tomorrow.
Yeah. It's easier talking to a stranger about some things than talking to someone you know.
True.
No, it's absolutely right.
So
you're a good therapist.
And this is your lane.
This is what you do.
The deal is, I don't believe you should have passwords, because you don't know what's inside your partner's emails, social media. I think a lot of times we think that, if you're not giving me your password, you must be cheating.
I hope you can have steak tonight after this comment.
She already made it.
Okay.
I just put it in the microwave. It was made last night because I knew this conversation was going on.
Leftovers
You
ain't
have
bad.
to be strategic. But yeah, my thing is, I think these are very uncomfortable situations and topics that need to be discussed. So if you're not discussing them, please bring them to the table. Please focus on being faithful, because if you're not faithful, you will be broke. If you're in a relationship, that is, right? So listen, that's that week for a conversation piece. I want to say thank you for attending. Thank you guys for your own
it was a great piece.
This is Will Jameer Townsend, Traveling Harmony People.
We'll be right back real quick. Real quick, we'll be right back.
Where do we go when it's time to leave? Tell me, honey. Tell me, oh, when we feel, where do we go? The time is near. I have so many things that I feel. Where do we go? Where will we go from here, my dear, my dear? I don't know where we will be. Where do we go when it's time to leave? Tell me, honey. Tell me, oh, when we feel, say, yeah, 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 hey, where do we go? Where do we go? I don't know.
And so I like this song. In light of speaking from love, and always speaking from a positive perspective, I think someone said to me, always think the best of a person when they speak. Always think the best of the comments that they make. And that being said, Ray, I believe we have
Yes.
someone here that decided to put her best foot forward in creating a product.
Yes, yes, yes. And did you know you did mention earlier that October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and
Yes.
but do you also know that October is also Retts Syndrome Awareness Month? And our guest here, Stephanie Gibbs, is here to talk about the book that she wrote in honor of her daughter, who died from Retts syndrome almost 10 years ago. And the book is based on her her daughter's life and her friends, and it's a story about how they interacted with each other. And so we are so happy to have you on the show to talk about Retts syndrome, which I never knew what it is, and did not know that it impacted females so strongly. And so please tell us why you're here to talk about Retts syndrome.
Hey guys,
Hey.
say thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. You helping me spread the word about Retts syndrome. I'm here today just to share my story. It's about Retts syndrome, but it's about so much more of the journey, that the different path that it took me on, and how it made me look at life in a whole different way. So I wanted to tell the story about Tiffany and her three best girlfriends that impacted her life, but it also changed their life as children, teaching children how to accept diversity, and having children see children with special needs in a different light, that they have value and they have worth, especially as being girls. Sometimes as girls, we are taught to be pretty. We are taught to be, we look at the outside, but these girls, they didn't look at Tiffany from the outside. They looked at her just as she's a girl too, and we want her to join in on what we're doing, and that's just how the whole journey started. I could see their experience, but I could also see the experience in my girlfriends as well that I had since I was a child, and I could look at that from an adult point of view, and I could see, wow, it's full circle of friendship.
Right.
And when I was going through dealing with Retts syndrome, how women came together and they nurtured me, and I didn't experience the meanness. I wanted to debunk the myth that girls and women can't come together for the greater good.
Stephanie, can you tell us a little bit about what the illness is?
Retts syndrome is a neurological disorder that affects the brain, the development of the brain. And as you know, the brain controls everything. So girls have two X chromosomes and boys have XY. And when the X chromosome is mutated, they have another X chromosome to fall back on, and boys don't. And sometimes they don't survive. And if they do survive, they don't live very long. But Retts syndrome affects girls in a way that eventually everything starts to regress. So my daughter had it laid dormant when she was born. She was born full term, but it laid dormant until the progression of her getting older. You could see that her motor skills, her fine and her gross motor skills, were starting to regress. And that's what happened. So it's like they're being trapped inside their own body. So when she's starting at age 1, she was starting to use her fine motor skills to eat. By the time Tiffany was 3, she was no longer able to walk, talk, eat. She was totally dependent on me. It's almost, they say it's almost, when she was diagnosed, she was born in 1997. By 1999, she was able to take a blood test to determine it was Retts Syndrome. And Retts Syndrome is named after Dr. Rett, who discovered the syndrome. He's a European, he's from Europe, and he discovered what it was. But it's just very, it's almost like a dream snatcher, because she's my only child, and she was and she was a girl. And I was just over the moon about having a little girl. And we already had her whole life planned out. College fund, her grandmother was all ecstatic and had set up a college fund. And for a doctor to tell you that she'll never go to college, she'll never do what other kids will do. That's when, I had to learn a whole new language about Retts Syndrome. And then that's when the first thing I prayed about was that she would have friends right in the doctor's office, in Dr. Groom's office, her pediatrician. Because at 1 year old, we noticed that everything stopped. And Dr. Grooms came in and she told me, Tiffany is delayed. And I'm like, what? Like in my New York accent, like, what do you mean? She's like, is she retarded? And I was like, she's like, Steph, we don't use that word anymore. That's antiquated. We don't use the word retarded. She's delayed. And I was like, well, and it's like I was punched in the gut, and I had to sit down. And like I was just like, I'm gonna pass out, And Dr. Grooms just like was the first one. Was like, no, ma'am, we're not doing that. This is the card you were dealt, and we're gonna deal with it. And the first thing I literally prayed for was for friends, that I didn't want her to grow up being alone. And I'm literally in 3 years, she was just like the life of the party.
So how did you
happen?
introduce the friends? Obviously, you said she was delayed, her motor skills.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
She, well, Tiffany was extremely beautiful. There's something about Tiffany was extreme. She was just a gorgeous child. That's awesome. And everywhere she went, people just gravitated to her anyway. But when she got involved in the school system, she got accepted into Forest Lake Elementary School in South Carolina, because that's where I'm originally from New York, but I moved to South Carolina. And her teacher said to me in the parking lot, she saw I was overwhelmed. I went back to college. I was overwhelmed. I was taking Tiffany to school, and she ran after me in the parking lot, and she said, "I'll take your baby home with me, while you go back to college."
Wow!
Oh, wow!
And that's the first introduction of how a woman came to me.
Wow!
And she said, "I will take her home," and I'm like, in my New York attitude, like. What do you want? What do you want? No, I'm not
There's a
letting
bottom
you have
line
my baby.
to all of that.
Because I grew up here. New Yorkers are kind of jaded.
We don't trust
We don't
anyone.
trust anybody. But she came to me and she said, "I will take her home, and you don't have to pay me anything or whatever." She had 2 little girls.
Wow.
She had 2 little girls at the time, and a next door neighbor was a little girl. And that's how Tiffany was introduced to them. And that's how the friendship started.
What age was that?
Tiffany was probably 4, because she was introduced at a certain age. If you have special needs, you get to go to the you get accepted into the preschool program in the special needs area of the school.
Right.
So it had to been 3 before she was 4. So from 4 and on for 10 years. They were best friends. They did everything together.
Wow.
That's
I mean, when I
beautiful.
say everything, they did everything together.
How is Tiffany now? What's going on with her motor skills now?
Well, Tiffany passed away in 2000.
sorry.
She passed away in 2011, a week after Mother's Day.
Okay.
A week after Mother's Day, she passed away. She was 14, but from 4 to 14, they were just like the Get Fresh
Inseparable,
crew.
huh?
They were inseparable.
Yeah.
Everything they did, church, and I was so mad. I was so angry with God, because it's just like when you hear people say they have cancer, they go through stages. I was in denial. then I was angry, and then, you know, and
You start to
everything.
come out of the woods.
Yeah,
after
you
that.
start, and I was like, God, why did you know I did everything? I was that good girl. I never gave my parents a day. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. And why is this going on? And Sherry, Tiffany's teacher, eventually came her godmother. She had Tiffany baptized and me baptized, and then that's when I really started to accept it, and that's just how then the congregation, and then church, and then the church women, and then it was just really just came full circle.
So that's interesting. So what conversation, how do you go from a why me to what conversation do you have with yourself to accept that this is kind of my lot in life?
Because
or
it's
this
not,
is
it
where
wasn't
is?
about me.
Okay. Right.
That's when it came out, when I had to stop feeling sorry for myself and having that pity party, and it wasn't about me. It was about giving her the best life that I can give her, and which helped me to grow as a person.
Right.
And you know, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, but yeah.
I was thinking too. When you come to the conclusion to accept what the situation is, it becomes easier
Yes.
to deal with. It's almost like someone just opened up those floodgates.
It was, because when we were at like Richland Memorial Hospital, we had to go to, she had like 11 different doctors for everything: eyes, brain, stomach, heart, liver, kidney. She had like dentists. She had a special dentist. So she had like 11 specialists, not just doctors, but specialists. And when I would go to the hospital, I would see children with all kinds of disorders that you would not even think they could be born with. Kids sometimes with their spine outside their body. Some kids with no arms and no legs, learning to walk. Wow. And I remember one time I was in physical therapy with her, and I saw a child with with no legs, and they had made a special, prosthetic for this young girl, and she was learning to walk. And another child there, when the mother unwrapped him, he had like no neck, and I again was starting to pass out because, and then I kind of like ventilated and went outside the door at Richmond Memorial and opened up the door, and I just was like, how dare I feel sorry for myself?
There you go.
How dare I? And then I went back in, and everything was just okay. And I said, this is what we got to do. This is what, this is what. But the nurses and the doctors allowing me to cry and mourn was just because I held it on in. Because again, as a New Yorker, we don't cry.
Tough.
We tough. We don't cry. My dad was like a cop. You don't cry.
We don't do that.
We were just like, I was like Miss Tuffy. But for them to say you can mourn, go ahead and mourn, go ahead and cry, but you can't stay there.
Stephanie, let's talk about the book, right? Because I know we want to promote this.
I love the artwork.
Thank
awesome
you.
Story.
That's my work.
Let's talk about obviously I understand what inspired this, but let's go a little bit further. A lot of things you might have been able to do, but obviously you wanted to put it in black and white. So talk to us about this real quick.
I wanted to do something because after she passed away, I had so much I wanted to say about her and her friendship, and about women, and about how they came together. After she passed away, the next summer I did, which is an annual event in Columbia Fashion Week. And I said I wanted to do something that I wanted to be with like-minded people. So I had no idea about what a fashion show was about. I went. I was so inspired, and that's how I met my PR. That's how I met Danielle. She was there.
Go D.
Yep, go D. D was running the show, and I was like, wow! And I saw all these women and makeup artists and designers, and I said, this is my element. This is where I need to be.
Right.
I went home a couple of days later. I did the illustrations from the fashion show. I did everything, and I said, you know what? This is my niche. I'm going to do a children's book. I'm going to illustrate because this is my God-given talent.
Right.
I'm going to put it to use. Better, how can I raise money? I wanted to do this. And then I sent my work into Todd Shiven, who's my mentor, who put the book together. Hey, Todd. Todd is from Boston. He's from Massachusetts.
Okay.
We never met. We just met the first time last year. And we've been corresponding by email, sending my work in.
Right.
He said, let's put the book together. Don't worry about the money. I'll do it.
I got to ask you a question. Sometimes artists and book authorship, right? You put subliminals a lot of time they put subliminals inside their covers.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed you have 4 young ladies here, but only 3 have halos. Why is that?
Because Tiffany's girlfriends, I feel like your friends are angels in disguise. They came down to me from heaven, or they were sent by God to cover Tiffany. So that's why Tiffany's in the front and they're hovering, they're over her. And
protection.
It's a protection. So I just believe, and they're praying over her. Because I find that, their eyes are closed and hers are open. But I just feel like friends are just a disguise. They're just disguised as angels. Because sometimes, or all the time, they have your back.
So how are we getting this? How are you promoting this? How are you getting it out there? The message, obviously, and I think it's a great message because there's a lot of individuals that have children that suffer from so many different things, and obviously this is like a coping mechanism in some way, shape, or form to know that it's done with a group of individuals that can actually help that one person. So how are you promoting it? What's the strategy? So we might be able to assist with that.
Well, I'm promoting it on Create Space, and it's on Amazon.com. It's on Amazon. I decided just to go out and speak different women's group, children, whatever, and also even anti-bullying because kids sometimes that are different are treated different ways, and what's going on in the school system right now where a lot of children are hurting. I just wanted to talk about inclusiveness. So I just go out whoever will just listen to my story. So if it's from the radio shows in my city, magazines, hiring a PR, and just helping me promote it. So you can go to Create Space or Amazon.com.
It's such a beautiful book.
And the name of what we're looking for?
And the Best Girlfriends Ever. And I'm also doing an event in my city, Columbia, South Carolina, the Best Girlfriends Ever Honors Award. And that's where I have women come together to celebrate other women, also in the power of friendship. Sometimes, again, like I said, I want to debunk the myth because on social media, we're not represented very well. We're represented as we fight, argue, beat each other up. We don't have any trust issues.
Instagram booty.
Before you go, can you talk about the Tiffany Nina Simone Hayes Foundation that you created?
Yeah, that's the Tiffany Nina Simone Foundation. Is just something that I do to give back. So the money that I raise for my books, I give it back to the community, like with the Best Girlfriends Ever Honors that will take place October 27th in Columbia, South Carolina. If you need tickets, just go to my Facebook page or my author's page, Stephanie Gives. Facebook, friend me, anything. I'm on LinkedIn, Stephanie Gives, Winkler. But that's what I do. I wanted to give something tangible to people to read. Foundation, sometimes you say, I need money, I need money. Some people want to know, why do you need the money?
Correct.
So I wanted to do it by doing the book and having the Best Girlfriends Honors Award. And the money from the Best Girlfriends Honor Award is going to the Retts Syndrome Foundation. Good. That's where the money.
How do you spell that?
RETT.
Right.
Retts
Okay, make sure we
Syndrome.
get that right.
Oh, she's beautiful. She's beautiful. Well, there you have it, people. You got. Please support, give to Miss Stephanie Gives. Support her. Her book, great. I love the artwork.
The Best
here.
Girlfriends Ever.
I'm asking on the back of the book. It's dedicated to all the sororities. I would have never known which sorority Tiffany would have pledged if she's never had it. So I also wanted to dedicate it to the Sisterhood of Sororities. So I'm asking sororities to please support too around the country. Retts Syndrome is something that a lot of people just don't know about.
There you have it.
Well, you've been awesome.
Yes,
we appreciate it.
you.
Stephanie
Thank
Gives
you so
everybody.
much.
To a lot of good information.
And we know where to find you. We hope everybody goes out and support the book that Stephanie has out and the event she's having in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you've been an awesome guest. So we are going to conclude this segment of the OnPoint Experience. So we are on the same page, guys.
Yes, y'all.
Thank
Fantastic.
you so much.
Thank
I really
you, Stephanie
appreciate
Gibbs.
It. Nice to be home.
Indeed, absolutely, right?
Welcome back.
No place
thank
like
you.
New York.
It is.
On Point Experience. Have a good day.
That's it.